Don't you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love? Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear overnight, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. We're going to have a pretty packed show for a Friday. It's still Freewheeling Friday, but we're going to have, I'm free stuttering. We're going to have Ian Camacho from Look Ahead America to discuss Texas Senate Bill 1, which we didn't have time to do with Matt Brainerd on Wednesday, and, we both wanted to. So Ian's going to come on. He's going to tell us a little bit about the bill and why Look Ahead America graded it as it did. I've read over it. I've read over Look Ahead America's report, so we'll talk about it in pretty deep, good detail here. Then we'll have Don Smith on as usual on our Friday. First show update here real quick. All right, I got to put these stupid drops in every 30 minutes, so I'm going to do a quick 30-second break. The counter, remember the counter, the 30-second counter. We're going to do that every half hour, except for the hour break, which we'll do normally. And it won't be longer than 30 seconds, but I got to drop the drops in. All right. Okay. I'm going to start off with something, even though I could start off with some polling I want to talk about. I could do a quick update on the public polling project. We're certainly doing all right, but we'd be doing better if we didn't have the issue with the credit card form. We're going to add authorize.net, which our clients on the polling side of it have been wanting anyway, because they want to give, instead of like a transfer, an electronic funds transfer or paying through PayPal or a credit card, which a lot of them, don't have the ability to do. They'd rather pay with check anyway. So I did get a lot of people asking me, hey, I initially sent and voided a check because I didn't know I couldn't send it to contribute to the public polling project. This way you'll be able to do it electronically, which is always great for me and Laura. We don't want to have to, handle anything, whatnot. We want it all electronically, transparently, up for everybody to see. There's that in mind. Now I have to get into something a little bit more uncomfortable, which I debated whether or not I was going to talk about. And I decided that I am going to talk about it today because it's Freewheeling Friday. What in the Sam hell is going on at CNN? Okay. This would be major news if a Fox News producer was caught on audio and I don't want to be too explicit here, talking about what he wants his fiance's 13 or 14-year-old daughter to do and what he fantasizes about doing. If he got caught sending pictures of her when she's not looking or when she doesn't think it's being disgusting, dirty old man. Yeah, Laura's over there like, no. I have a daughter almost this age, which is why I decided, you know what? I'm going to talk about this. I would beat the tar out of somebody.
Yeah.
I would beat the living out of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If they were looking at my 13, 14-year-old daughter like this. In this day and age, we had this like cultural revolution. Who knows? Maybe it's the steroids in the food. Who knows? And all of a sudden we look at these like young girls like what make stupid comments like this idiot made. Oh, she sure don't look her age. Even if that's true. Her age is her age. And for those who don't know, a CNN employee, this all comes on the heel of John Griffin, another CNN employee, which you won't hear about in the clip I'm going to play because I specifically brought it to that line where we just talk about her and why this particular source came forward and why the media would like scrutinize her and why I think it's so dirty and I want to talk about it because I believe her. And I also believe that this is a guy who thinks his you-know-what doesn't stink, that he's in a different class than she is. They've had a 10-year relationship. They met with him paying for sex from her. She was a prostitute. She was being trafficked, which she admits. He thinks because she is of lower stature than him, nobody will believe him. Because you would think, nobody would believe her. Why would anyone be that stupid to have that kind of text trail? And then she actually caught him on audio with some of the most graphic, disgusting stuff you would hear, which I'm not going to play. You can go and look at the Project Veritas video. You know what? I'll put it in the thing. If you want to hear it, but I'm warning you, guys, if you got kids, it's going to piss you off.
You're going to want to reach through the
girls,
screen.
You're going to want to vomit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm just telling you right now. So that's why I'm deciding what I want to play and what I don't hear. But I know men like this. And I generally know how men like him think. You see them as, if you're a guy, you see men like this since high school. And you know the way these guys are going to grow up. He bought her. She's just some dumb prostitute. He bought her and had his way with her. So she's just some dumb prostitute that he can basically treat as a lesser person. And it doesn't really matter what she may have to say because she is what she is and he is what he is. And the world and society are going to believe him over her. That's why he's that stupid to do it. Mm-hmm. And in the clip, she's right about this is someone who tried to go to the police. This guy, I'm telling you right now, as a man, this guy's going to act on these fantasies. If this woman hasn't found out already, which I can't imagine she didn't with Project Veritas doing what they did, I just can't. She can't not believe this. Mm-hmm. He's on tape. And hopefully she took her young teenage daughter away from him.
Not only that,
because he's going to do this. Yeah, talking to the woman he has paid for sex with. Yeah, hoping that he could be. Look, you guys need to watch because I don't want to be that I don't want to be that graphic on this show. It's not what we do here. But any self-respecting woman would dump you and run. Not only dump you, but probably report you for attempted. I don't know.
You're going to be single.
But this guy is definitely going to make a move here on this little girl. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't be some kind of like, this isn't the situation where it would be some kind of like physical violent rape or something. It would be an older man pressuring a girl who doesn't know how to say no or doesn't know what's going on or is not mentally developed enough, is afraid, or maybe some of these girls get started young. They're too young to really understand what it is they're asking, a man to do. And that's why it's an adult man's job to say, no, I'm going to be your stepfather. Let me tell you why this is wrong. Even if that's the case, which I don't think it is here, judging by how this woman was interviewed by James O'Keefe. I think this is some disgusting middle-aged prick who thinks he could take advantage of a 13-year-old girl.
It
Again.
begins to make me wonder if he started dating
Yeah.
his mother just to
I
get
just
to
saw
her.
a comment in the corner of my eye. Let me put this up. Grab the comment from RoboBeast, because this is RoboBeast. This is the impression I had as well. He just read our minds. This is the impression I had as well. You know these guys. Robo, if you're a man and you're my age, you know these guys. You saw them, you grew up with them, and they grew into this guy. And they will act this out. He will act this out. He's not going to just sit and fantasize. He's used to getting his way. He'll pay for it if he's got to, but he'll manipulate by any means necessary to get it. The police should be ashamed of themselves for at least not knocking on the door and going, man, what the hell is this? Even if there is no crime yet, just to let you know, we know, and we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
I pray to God it's not because. It doesn't matter who she is. She has the audio. She has the text message. It doesn't matter that she was a prostitute. She's got the goods. I pray it's not because he's got a job at CNN, like he's royalty or something.
Mm-hmm.
CNN is a joke of a news outlet that is only watched because people are forced to watch him in airports around the country. Few people get home and say, let's see what CNN's up to, even on the left. MSNBC clobbers them in prime time. If you're a leftist, you're watching MSNBC. So I don't know where this idea like this power came from. But pray that that's not the case. Let me get her response to James O'Keefe when he says, what would you say to people because of who you are and your background? All right, what would you say to those people who say you're not credible because of who you are and what your background is? Okay, let's see her response here. And I'm just going to do it here on my YouTube. Audio should be running. You should be good. Let me know if you can't hear the audio.
By coming forward, people are going to put a lot of scrutiny on you.
Mm-hmm.
Given your profession, it's just people are going to be skeptical. What is your response to people who may not believe you or your motivations?
I have been a victim pretty much all my life. I do not want this girl to be a victim of anything. But again, the bottom line is to save this girl. I tried going to the police. It didn't work. I don't know if it's because, my history has tainted it or if it's because of who he is. And that's what makes me mad, is that these people with power seem to get away with things. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a detective. I was sick to my stomach with every single thing that was said. But the more he wrote or the more he said or the things I did was just more evidence that I thought was going to at least get a wellness check on her. I just want this kid to be safe.
Okay. All right. Enough of the, it's James O'Keefe crap. 20 freaking years ago, he did something wrong and was charged with a crime. The whatever shaming, whatever you want to call it, the source shaming, that's bad enough. But this repeated nonsense every time James O'Keefe comes and embarrasses somebody with the truth. This repeated nonsense that is James O'Keefe and he edits stuff out of context. James O'Keefe edits stuff out to make it easier for people to digest. Editing out of context is like the New York Times and MSNBC and CNN showing you a transcript that they remove 500 words from to impeach the president of the United States. That's editing out of context. Nothing here. We're not even discussing that here. If I didn't want to, embarrass people, sometimes my kids watch the show. If I didn't want to, if I wasn't concerned about that, I would put up some of the text messages. I would play the audio. I'm not going to do it, but trust me, click the link and listen to it yourself. The veracity of the text messages are really not in doubt here. The accuracy, whether or not it's his voice on the audio is not being argued here. There's been no response from CNN, who again is just dealing with a similar situation. In that case, Griffin was charged with 3 counts of attempting to elicit or entice the underage into illegal sexual activity. What the hell is going on at CNN? And worse, what the hell's going on at Fox News that you're not hearing about this? What the hell is going on at the New York Times, at the Washington Post, who constantly attempts to debunk James O'Keefe instead of report what he did? The Washington Post and the New York Times hate James O'Keefe. Why? He does their job. He goes after the people they protect. It's that simple. What is happening at these other news outlets? That it's circled the pedo wagon over there. Nobody thinks this is did Fox really cover it, Laura? Because I was looking for
I don't.
I'm not talking about like putting a hit on foxnews.com and then putting it on Hannity. Nobody watches Hannity except for right-wing Hannity watchers. He's got good ratings. I'm not saying that, but the widespread, it's not getting it's not getting left to right coverage. Maybe they did cover the CNN thing, but I don't know, They did. The prior charging and the arrest and then subsequent charging of. Actually, you have to be charged, then arrested, right? It depends on which state, actually. In Florida, you can be arrested, and then they have a charging affidavit, arrest affidavit. Then you're charged. Mm-hmm. It can go both ways, I guess. People get indicted and charged first all the time, and then are arrested.
Laura said Fox covered it like in a broad spectrum, not granular.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is major news. This is now the second instance of an employee of CNN within a very short amount of time conducting themselves in this way. This is why Jeffrey Toobin was allowed back on the air, because at least he was pulling on his own Toobin in front of this must be the way they think at CNN. At least he was pulling on his own Toobin in front of age women. It's like a really low bar to get over.
You ain't lying. I'm telling you.
This is disgusting. And mark my words, I'm telling you, this guy, if he's not removed from the presence of this girl, he's going to act out on this. Just totally sick to my stomach over this, because this definitely goes on more than you think. Not just in the world. There's something about their world. What she said too matters. They have an incentive that other people don't enjoy, which is that they keep getting away with this crap. Mm-hmm. You can get away with all of this if you're a member of the club. It's sick, man. It's sick. All right. With that in mind, real quick, I'm going to tweet out before we have Ian on. I am going to send you guys a little bit of a forward here. And can you grab it and throw it into locals too? Anything I grab in there? Could you do that for me? This way I don't have to go to locals. And here is Look Ahead America's. Locals, you should have it. I actually put it up this morning earlier after I got done reading it. Look Ahead America's review of Texas SB 1 for those on YouTube and Rumble who don't have it, and all the rest. All right, Facebook, etc. All right, it's coming out now. Coming to you now. Don't you look? I have to go back to it for a second. Don't you remember the heart attack these people had over Roy Moore with 17-year-old girls? Judge Roy Moore, some decades ago in the state of Alabama, where it really wasn't culturally crazy yet. Don't you? I mean, really, there was only one that was disputed to be that old. They had a coronary over it. And by the way, that was one of the more weaker allegations. It was. That was one of the younger one was one of the more weaker allegations against him. The ones I wholeheartedly believed was him coming back with his uniform on and like trying to impress 17-year-old girls. But in Alabama back then, and in many states back then, look at the law in Texas on the books to this day. Go and look how young you can marry a girl. Jerry Lee Lewis, one of Alabama's favorite sons, married his 13-year-old cousin. Yeah, I know, but he married her. Yep. But still, I'm just saying. Yeah, they called it. I mean, Jay, right. They accused Donald Trump of incest with his daughter, and they had no evidence whatsoever. They just did it. And they acted worse. They acted like everyone who wasn't outraged by the accusation was like somehow in on it. Or somehow you were a bad person. If you were a supporter or just an average American and you didn't find that to be credible, well then, damn, you're a bad person. You're indecent. Here we have, man, this guy's dead to rights. Listen to the audio. He's got this all planned out in his head. Again, I don't want to get graphic, but you don't have to be a guy to know.
He's just evil. That's what it boils down to. There's no word that describes how dark you have to be in order to rip a child's innocence away from them.
Yeah.
There's no word that can describe how not even evil does it. Take that child's personhood. Yeah. To take the innocence.
That's never coming back.
Will never be a flipping child again.
That's never coming back.
Oh my God.
That's not coming back ever. Never. That kid has gone from 13 to 30 without the mental capacity to be 30.
Yeah. And that's if that child lives long enough.
It was an obsession. Robo was right on it today. He's obsessed. He's got it all worked out in his head. Folks, I'm just trying to be PG here. Mm-hmm. If you listen to the audio, he has explicit in detail what he's going to do and how he intends to do it. How he intends to implement it. He's obsessed with it. He's been thinking about it for a long time. And he's going to do it. Is my point. He's absolutely going to do it. I really hope the next video we get from Project Veritas says we contacted the mother and she has since then packed up and ran like hell. Because if not, you're derelict, lady.
Well,
derelict.
There's some mothers, Richard.
I know there are.
I
know. I've seen them. I know. So have you. Mm-hmm. They're derelict. They don't give a damn. They just want the man and the life.
And she should be arrested if she doesn't do anything if something happens to
Holy
her daughter
crap.
As a flipping accomplice.
Holy crap. Ugh.
I'd rather be in an orphanage than deal with that.
Jeebies, man. Mm-hmm. The heebie-jeebies. All right. Almost time. I'm going to have to get that off of my skin in order to bring on Ian. This is disgusting. You know? Disgusting. Before, actually, I'll leave that to that real quick. We can't go over this. because I got Don and I want to take questions. So I'll squish in as much as I can before Ian comes on. All right. Build Back Better in the polling. Well, first and foremost, it's important to note that the parliamentarian ruled yesterday, which is amazing that we have to rely on the ruling of one person who, by the way, gets it wrong quite a bit. In order for Congress to implement measures that are constitutional in a manner that is constitutionally sound. And yesterday, the parliamentarian ruled that Democrats could not include an amnesty for illegal immigrants in the Build Back Better bill. If you haven't been watching Rasmussen, and I took the New Hampshire crosstabs as big as they were, Maine was big too, put it up on locals. They are in real danger of pissing off some New England states. All right, so if you're a Republican, I guess you hope they try and fail. But, and people know it. But the Build Back Better bill has been really dishonestly polled. So the same thing was true of the infrastructure bill, all of this stuff. They ask these things in a way which like totally skews what it actually does. And Rasmussen had polled it a few times. Now it's just an outright opposition to the bill. Let's take a real quick look while we have a few minutes with Ian, before Ian. Generally speaking, this is great too. Rating of the House and the Senate, which is interesting because we have these midterms coming up. And really, the congressional ballot is only with the House, if you ask it correctly. Anyway, it should be. Generally speaking, how do you rate the way the U.S. House of Representatives is doing its job? Excellent, 10%. Good, 20%. Only, I mean, that's it. So we're looking at 30% compared to poor, 45%, fair, 21%. With the Senate, excuse me. Only 4% say excellent. And I'm going to tell you why that is, because I know why it is. Look at the party. Republicans absolutely cannot stand their leadership. Republicans are not, they're only in the minority in the House because Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker. I mean, it's basically even. I wouldn't call Senate control Democrat Senate control. If Republicans had control like this, they'd get nothing done of their own agenda because Democrats would absolutely block everything. Mitch McConnell, the crook, who, by the way, if you didn't read how he sold out the Republican Party the other day, I strongly urge you to do so. It's not just the Republican Party. He sells out America. The guy is completely owned by China and his corporate. He's also a miserably cruel old you-know-what. Great job to Tucker Carlson, by the way, which somebody put on our locals page. peoplespundit.locals.com. Great job, by the way. They grabbed Tucker's segment and they said, you know what? This is not a good man. This is not a nice man. When somebody who supported him and he had a relationship with gets under fire a little bit and he throws them under the bus, ruins him, then make sure that it gets leaked to the New York Times or the Washington Post so everybody knows and the man never gets any business again. You have to be a pretty bad person. Dishonest person. But anyway, you can clearly see Republicans, they have less of a majority in the House, yet Republican voters seem to be more aggravated somehow with their own lawmakers than Democrats. What does that tell you? What does it tell you? So we'll see how Build Back Better goes. Joe, I really think there's two sides to this. Because here we have it. The very elaborate question here. And in the end, let me scroll a little bit so you guys, you can't with that thing there. All right, well, I'll just give it to you. In the end, it's opposed 45-38. All right, among all likely voters. And why does that matter? Because they were pretty even until people really understood what was in it. There's two sides to the coin here, though, folks. Two sides to this coin. The one side is, well, they can't, if one too many Democrats caves and it passes, they don't get their amnesty. The other side of that coin is people like Joe Manchin, John Tester, Kirsten Sinema could be more likely or open to supporting the Build Back Better bill if the amnesty's not there. Joe Manchin claims, and I know this for a fact, he claims his opposition is because of cost. We'll find out for sure now, won't we? All right. He basically said the Biden administration's lying. And, CBO was even worse than what the organization he was waiting for. So he's a no dice. All right. We're going to skip that 30-second countdown and we're going to bring on Ian Camacho now because I'll throw those things in my eyes after or during a little thing. I'm pretty crafty, but, I just want to take the time. It's first time on the show. Ian, thanks for joining us. Look Ahead America. How you doing, my friend?
Pleasure to meet you, Rich. Thanks for having me on. And great
show. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I had Matt on Wednesday. We didn't get time for it, so I'm glad you could come back on today and go over this. I threw up your entire report on my locals community. I read it thoroughly. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little bit shocked. I don't always have time to go through every one of these bills. But it's almost like Bush v. Gore doesn't exist. And you would think with in a state like Texas, which does have, when you're comparing different states, I'm not saying I'm in love with it, but when you're comparing different states, they have actually some of the more strict or sound election integrity policies, and they just seem in the SB 1 seems to want to throw it away. What so let me give you the floor here. Tell us why Look Ahead America gave it an F, and then I'll explain what I mean about that. But I'm sure you're going to do a good job right now.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for putting it on locals, and I'm glad you got a chance to read it. It's funny because I was listening to your segment before I came on here, and you were talking about how Republicans are not happy with their leadership because a lot of times we see them celebrating what seems like would be a great bill on the surface, and then you read deep, you're like, oh wait, this is actually. I'm going to be diplomatic here and say it's extremely underwhelming. That's what I would say is a nice way of describing it.
Right.
It's a very mixed bag, but overall it's more negative than positive. I thought well, not me, but a lot of our team felt it undermined existing protections. So for example, there used to be with signature verification, you used to have 2 signatures anytime in the last 6 years through an official document. Now it's any signature at any point in the past, and there's only 1. So that undermines that. It keeps black box voting in place. And in some parts of Texas, by the way, I live in Texas, I live in Austin. So this is actually somewhat of a personal bill for me. It keeps black box voting, which is basically that means you have no way of accessing the source code. And it also in some places has no paper trail, which at least, some black box voting has. So there's no way of seeing that. Election officers can change the setup at any point. They can use it for good reasons, but as you know, that can always and will be abused. And in fact, you can even apply for voting in Texas with an expired license. And it expands vote by mail, which was pretty much the core of all the issues we were seeing in 2020. So yeah, those are the negatives. There was the only sort of positives are that, it stops the blocking of poll watchers. It penalizes, election officials for sharing false information, which I already thought was a lot, but maybe it wasn't. And apparently it doesn't completely stop ballot harvesting, but it minimizes it. So it's just you and 2, extended family members. So yeah, that was pretty much it. But it undermines a lot of what we would think would be a good bill in Texas, which was kind of disappointing to say the least.
Yeah, I just have to apologize. I'm an eye-to-eye kind of guy, so I hate the fact that I have to put glasses on right now. But between the drops,
what happened?
Yeah, but I got LASIK surgery, and between the drops that you constantly have to put in and the lights that for the cameras, it's killing me. So I just need to put it on real quick. Yeah, I don't like to disappoint.
Bright and shiny. I'm glad it's not my skin or anything, so that's cool.
No. Believe me. You know what? In the end, it'll all be worth it. But yeah, I have to agree. So also the allowing of verification with expired IDs, driver's license, that one jumped right out at me. Being from an urban center, I know all the tricks, and that is unbelievably foolish. But in the end, the most important, and you mentioned it to me, was the expansion of vote by mail. And without some strict policing of those change of address records that your organization, we have found them all. That was low-hanging fruit last November. You know, people aren't going to go in there. They're not going to declare that valid because those people don't live in states anymore. So if you're somebody who's up to no good, looking for, additional places to find voters, that is low hanging fruit. And Texas, after this, decides to expand it. It's just without, and look, it's not that I'm vehemently opposed to expanding vote by mail. Living in Florida, it's long been vote by mail state. Republicans dominate absentee ballot voting, or used to. But there were also strict, verification procedures in place, and voters weren't really treated all that differently. When you went to go pick up your absentee ballot, they got the tablet, they got your prior signature. You have to get out your license, hand them your signature, and now I think I'm all right, so I can take them off. But this is not, this was not a loose system. And Texas is telling you now that you'll be able to walk up with just an expired ID and go through what is half of that process. And then there's also, again, I guess I really don't like the concept of treating voters differently. And I understand accommodations for the disabled, for instance, which is addressed in this bill. I get all that, Ian. It seems like to me, this is something that this is a bill that could have come out of Illinois. All right. I don't really know how else to. Would you agree with that assessment? This does not look like an election integrity bill.
It's funny that you mentioned treating voters differently, because that's the basis of the lawsuit that the Department of Justice is claiming. And that's what Kamala Harris said, this is a restrictive bill and yada, yada. What they were claiming doesn't match up. Of course, they're saying, disenfranchise minorities and all that kind of stuff we always hear. But it's very clear this does not discriminate against people with disabilities. It gives them a lot of opportunities. It's going down basically the soft racism argument where you're saying minorities aren't capable of getting, identification or anything of that nature. But plus, there's also 7 ways to vote in Texas. You could use 7 pieces of different types of ID in Texas to vote in person, as well as apparently now expired licenses. So yay for that. And you don't even need the full social security number. You only need the last 4. And so we were saying, well, that's kind of funny. If we're going to say that's discriminatory because you've lost your license or your social security card or something like that, then what about filing taxes? You need all 9 numbers for that. Are you going to go after the IRS for discriminating against minorities and people who are poor and disenfranchised according to your logic? Why not, apply the criticism equally? Of course, it's political theater. There's nothing that, but it is a bad bill, but not for the reason they're saying. That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think it's political theater? Because they really, same thing with redistricting. They're suing Texas. The Department of Justice is suing Texas for redistricting because they wanted, where you are, by the way, they wanted those burbs to dilute some of the rural vote, or at least their burbs, not all burbs, their burbs, to dilute that rural vote. But they don't care that Portland, Oregon was split into 4 different districts so that Portland could dilute some of the more redder vote. They don't care that Albuquerque, New Mexico was split down the middle to go one way into the other way so they could split the rural New Mexico vote. It's theater. It's theater. If you look at it and the root causes of, whatever you want to fraud, whatever you want to call it, or not, the ability, the exploitation of the system, then this is just bad policy. And we could talk about this bill for a lot longer, but there are a couple other things I want to ask about I think are important. Sure.
The report you guys did on Antrim County, and this kind of sticks with me a little bit, because after the 2020 election, there were some of us who were trying to do some serious work, and then there were others who were throwing a lot of stuff against the wall to be nice, right? Laura, you're proud of me. I used another word to see what would stick. And it allowed the detractors in the media to just paint everybody with a single brush. And it was very unproductive to the overall problem. So it ticks me off quite a bit. So I'd like you to talk about what's going on with this back and forth with your report on Antrim, because you guys looked even, deeper than we did. But to us, this looked like a textbook human error, which was in fact corrected. And it doesn't look like the pretext for a larger nationwide argument about voting machines. It just doesn't. Humans can always human beings always are subject to error. I mean, it can happen no matter what method you're using. Yeah, probably machines can be worse because people tend to be incompetent in this day and age. But tell us what your report found and what's going on with the back and forth, the competing stuff you have happening here.
Sure. So I'll try to compress it. So yeah, we did look really in depth on like everything. So it's over 1,000 pages of documents that were filed in the courts and evidence and such. Like we
Yeah.
read that twice. I mean, but long story short, Matthew DePerno and the case that was brought forward in Antrim, the claim was that the ballots were being digitally adjudicated because they were supposedly scanning them, and then oops,
Right.
error, right? And so now the county voters are flipping them, and so all these votes for Trump supposedly were going to Biden. That was the claim. The other claim was that the machines were online and transmitting this to wherever internationally, et cetera, and there was a big conspiracy. There was a few other things in there, but long story short, the machines in Antrim did not have image scanning or image saving turned on. So there's no, you couldn't delete it because you'd have to have it in order to delete it. It just wasn't saved, right? And the machines did have internal modems that were like dial-up, but there weren't the wireless stuff that was claimed. But it wasn't on, and there was no records, and there was just a lot of. The best way I would describe this is that there were vulnerabilities. To his credit, his group did find vulnerabilities there, but vulnerabilities, as you know, are not the same as exploits, right? And
That's right.
He was trying to show exploits had happened. We were like, nope, didn't happen here, here, here. Pretty much nothing he said was valid. The one thing we did see that was correct that he didn't find that was that Dominion Voting and Michigan had a contract saying that you are required by law to save the write-in ballot images. And because John Poulos, the CEO of Dominion, and this was confirmed by all the experts, cyber ninjas, J. Alex Halderman, all the people across the aisle said, no, nothing was saved. And so by doing that, they confirmed, yeah, we basically broke this point in the contract. So we're saying, yes, they should be decertified on violating the contract. Of course, instead of getting a thank you, Matt DePerno sent us a cease and desist letter trying to shoot us down. But he only just sent us more evidence in favor of what we found. And we've challenged him to a debate. I'm willing to have a debate with him. Robert Barnes is willing to host that debate, or maybe you would like to host the debate. That'd be great. With him,
Co-host, Robert, co-host.
That'd be good. But it'd be good just to say, hey, listen, if your stuff is true, it should be able to hold up. But yeah, there's unfortunately that really has muddied the waters. And instead of taking us up on it, because if he's right, it's an easy win. He can fundraise for his campaign. He can have more evidence there. But instead, he's just taking pot shots at me and Matt and Look Ahead because we called him out. And the reason we said this is a problem is because it takes away from real issues. And there's so much stuff still like this floating around from 2020. It just
really is.
It makes us look. It loses I guess it's he's false Steve Bannon. It's the noise instead of the signal, right? And so you're losing what's real, and it's unfortunate because they keep getting away with it because people are ignoring it. So
right, because go ahead, finish your thought. Go ahead.
Hopefully he or someone in Michigan brings suit using like, hey, this was a violation of the contract, decertify them. That's the one thing. But instead of doing that, he's just arguing against us instead. So, oh well.
Yeah, and the reason why we had looked into it is the very reason you just said. Those images were missing, along with when we requested, along with the absentee ballot applications. All right, or they just wouldn't give them to us, which was something that the state law required had to be kept for 2 years. And we're thinking, well, if this is a change of address flag, and this is a valid vote, then where is the application for the absentee ballot to be mailed out? Because in Michigan, right on the paper, next to where it's basically under penalty of perjury, send me my ballot here instead. So we were simply trying to verify this person lives in Indiana now. Okay. So where is that it's a legal affidavit saying this is me. I am me. I'm still eligible to vote in Michigan, but right now I'm over here. Send me the ballot over here. And we couldn't get that. So, but Antrim, of course, was, that happened on election night. So we did see that right away. And ultimately, it really comes down to what I think what you just said, which is, that if you do care about this issue, then the last thing you want is anything, distracting from the real issues here, the where exploits are happening and can even more easily happen, because it doesn't have, it never had to be that complicated, Ian.
Yep.
I don't know where this went off on this tangent. It never had to be that complicated. It was an updated way of the good old fashioned way. That's the way I like to put it. That's what happened in the areas in question. All right, speaking of which, Wisconsin and Georgia. Wisconsin is an interesting case to me because in Wisconsin, it seems like officials are probably the most serious. We got a phone call and with prodding, asking questions about, if we're going to look, where should we look? And to me, it was the most serious inquiry of where, point me in the direction. What did you guys find in Wisconsin? But also, I'd like you to comment on what you think about the investigation that's going on now, because again, out of all of them we've heard, I think they're probably the most focused on what matters. That's probably the way I'd put it. But go ahead, on Wisconsin first, then we'll go to Georgia.
Sure. I with all those, I hope for the best, but I expect nothing out of these.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be straight up on what I'm seeing, but I'm hoping. I would love. I'll tell you this: we have sent our material off to the Racine County Sheriff. When that whole thing came out about him finding the nursing homes. We had just said, hey, we found people who had voted by illegally at the post office box registering that. We have people who are in your county who have claiming to be indefinitely confined. We have tons of evidence of them on Facebook and social media, et cetera, that they're clearly not indefinitely confined according to the law. And by the way, Wisconsin Supreme Court said you can prosecute these people one by one. It's going to be super expensive, but if someone wants to take that up, let's go. And there's just a number of things we found that even using the most conservative metrics, it still exceeds the margin of victory. The reason people say, oh, why don't you say Trump won? The truth is we don't know how these people voted. They may say one thing on social media, but in reality, they vote the other way. The other thing is that we don't know how, they may not have voted for the president at all. We just know that it exceeds the margin of victory, so it's unknowable. It was a complete mess in Wisconsin. That's beyond question. I hope they take a look at it seriously and don't go off into the wacky conspiracy theory kind of stuff, because then it will be dismissed. But in essence, we had done a sample size and we had, extrapolating that, saying we had found approximately 158,000 ballots were probably illegal based on claiming indefinitely confined status, which again, the Supreme Court said wasn't a legally cast ballot, but it's already happened. So that's where that's at. My fingers are crossed on that. We have sent it off to the various sheriff's departments. We have notified the election commission. What they do, all we can do is as a research group, we can say, here's the evidence, do with it as you will. That's all we can really provide and make the public aware of it. And hopefully we try to cut through the noise, but unfortunately there's a lot of it out there.
I think between that, go ahead.
I was say as far as Georgia, I know you wanted me to go to Georgia. You're giving a big question, but I'm sorry. You wanted to ask about
we'll wait on Georgia a second. I was just saying that I think that, you focused where you needed to as far as that status and the change of address flags. I really think that is a great start, and that's probably enough. And, people always ask, well, why don't you say, you just said it though. Why don't you say it means Trump won? Well, the truth is, until you hunt down that ballot, you need an actual legal entity to do this, really. And you don't get cooperation from the officials whatsoever. I will not forget, we're in touch when we're calling elections, doing what we're doing, constantly in touch with officials on election night, how many ballots you have out there, how many were sent out, how many expect to be returned. We had the figure during the day. It was all jumbled up. And a lot of people attribute automatically, it's their nature to attribute, some sinister motive to it. But one official in Milwaukee, you remember her? She just wanted to throw her hands up. She was like, listen, we are just trying to keep our heads above water.
Yep.
This system was thrusted on us in 60 days. We're not designed to do this. We're not, our system is not capable of this. Our people aren't trained for this, so don't, just believe me when I tell you, like you said, it was a mess. That is what she was saying it was going to be. And she's like, I don't know. I don't have a figure for you. I don't know. Nobody knows. Guess what? Nobody knows, because this is a disaster over here. It was frustration at the highest level, and but I argue all the time, Ian, when you have a situation like that, just chaos, that is where people move in to exploit.
Exactly.
Chaos is the mother of corruption. And you can't allow that. And that was our argument from the very beginning, moving into that election, which was really what she said. Many of these states were never built to do this. Pennsylvania was never even an early voting state. Michigan, same thing. People like to vote on election day. And then all of a sudden you're going to change, going to change this process and expect officials to keep up. It was unrealistic. And it was unrealistic to believe there wouldn't be people who would want to take advantage of that. Yeah. But Georgia, speaking of a mess, very important election for both, parties coming up this fall. The election, the bill that was passed, we weren't thrilled with. All right. There were some wins in there for people who care about election integrity. But there was some, we polled that state multiple times. And people were telling us, oh, no, we want to go further. You don't understand. This is what we want. And it was very bipartisan. The media likes to make this an issue that is divisive. But in truth, we have never conducted a survey where, the lion's share of Democrats were opposed to deadlines, stronger verification procedures, whether that's signature or something else, and stricter photo ID. They just think it's common sense, Ian.
Yeah.
So, but politicians get a hold of this stuff. Where do you think, Georgia is moving into November, given what you guys found? And you should, by all means, talk about what you guys found. My locals page probably read it, but.
Sure. So I just want to be clear, people say, oh, you're saying there's no fraud. Oh, there definitely was, but I wouldn't say it was all fraud.
Just don't know.
One of the things was, it was also just a lot of, I like to use Hanlon's razor. That explains a lot of it. People not being competent or trained. It was thrust on them. The system was a complete mess. It was a massive stress test. So,
and they failed it.
Because on the one hand, you have one side saying it's all fraud, and then the other hand, you're saying there's no fraud, and it's like, well, no, it's a little bit of both, right? It's mistakes and fraud, and calculations, etc. Like that stuff happens, and that happens in every election. We're hyper focused on it, and now, and there's a lot of money to be made on those claims, which is unfortunate. As far as Georgia goes, they did not have the indefinitely confined situation, so that was not an issue in Georgia. We had actually discovered over 1,400 registrations, and we did not. This was not an exhaustive search, by the way, but we found people who were at post office boxes, UPS stores,
I need it colder,
claiming that those are apartments and suites and units and things like that, which is clearly illegal according to state law. And the ballot, it says you must not list a post office box. So even if we're going to be charitable and get rid of UPS and FedEx, there's still post office boxes, and we can break that down further. They might say, oh, it was a transcription error by the clerk or something. That's
always the first. That is always the first. They did this to us too. That's always the first excuse, Ian. It's a clerk. It's a clerical error. It's a clerical error. What the media doesn't understand is that I believe you do this too. Our matching is first name, last name, middle name or initial, address, date of birth. There is just no way. There is no way some of these. It's ridiculous. The clerk needs to be fired. Because
if the clerk is that bad, I'm not talking one or two. We're talking 1,400. And again, that wasn't exhaustive. We looked at things like storage units where it was not the manager living on site, and restaurants and things like that. So, and again, we didn't look at other wacky things like factories. There's more we probably missed. So it's probably over 2,000 at the rate we're looking at. That doesn't cross the margin of victory, but we also found people who, just using that alone, but we also found people who had clearly moved out of state, were not students, they were not military, they were not federal employees, they were not caretakers, or any kind of exemption that they could claim, clearly able-bodied, moving back and forth, had been out of state for years. And, if we made a mistake, it's absolutely possible. That's why we put the margin of error in. That's why we put the confidence percentage in there. But that would be, at that point, the Secretary of State or the Attorney General to further investigate. And again, we didn't even look at parties on this. I did notice there are people who appeared to be Democrat and Republican and independent and unaffiliated. So that wasn't
Sure.
the thing we considered. We were just saying, does this surpass the margin of victory? And in Georgia, as with Wisconsin, it was clearly past the margin of victory. So again, that's why we say it could theoretically widen Biden's supposed margin of victory, or it could go the other way into Trump's.
Go wipe it
Right. So
out.
we don't know. It was just a mess. It was a complete mess.
Yeah, I mean, for those who criticize, we got this criticism too, the subsample concept. I mean, do you know what the likelihood is? All right, let's take Michigan, for instance, where Jocelyn Benson said they rejected 14,000 ballots. Do you know what the likelihood is of pulling a subsample off of the voter file and finding almost the lion's share of that in a single subsample? I mean, the probability is extremely low that you just happen to pull every problematic record. So that's what I see people do with Look at America too. Well, this is just a subsample and they're extrapolating. Well, of course. I mean, of course. The likelihood that, you would have grabbed the one, again, problematic part of the population is just nuts. I mean, I don't think these people really understand how, basic concepts and statistics and even arithmetic.
Yeah.
It's just, they don't get it. That is very, very improbable. And by the way, again, you're asking us to believe that when you're seeing, or asking us to even, believe that to be a possibility when you're finding it in multiple states across the country. And that's just, again, that's nuts. That is very, very unlikely. I don't even want to do the math on that. It's very unlikely. All right. So yeah, real quick, because I know we're coming up on the top of the hour. Had Matt on to talk about it too, Ian, but I'd love to revisit it with you because it is coming up. I mean, it's very, very soon. You have this protest in Arizona. A lot of the media reported this audit. It found nothing. And in fact, that's not true at all. And you guys are holding this protest. Look at America's got the protest in front of the AG's office. Tell people more about it. It's today. And, tell everybody what your goal is.
Well, as you may see, I've got the, I'm trying to do the reverse thing here. I'm not used to it. I've got the red Look Ahead America t-shirt on. We will have an election integrity rally today. You will see our volunteers and people who are working with Look Ahead wearing that around. If you want to sign up to volunteer, we'll have pads there and people you can discuss with the election with you. It's going to be 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So I think you're on the East Coast. So that would be, I guess, 4 p.m. your time, 1 p.m.
Mountain.
Yeah, it's going to be in Phoenix, and it's going to be right outside the Attorney General's office. And we're going to have great guest speakers. Of course, Matt Brainerd's going to be there, but we're also going to have Carrie Lake, Jim Logan, Senator Kelly Townsend, Representative Mike Vincham, John Gillum, a bunch of other people there as well. If you want to check it out, go to lookaheadamerica.org/AZprotest to sign up or find out more information.
You got that link, Laura? We could throw that up. That's a small link. The AZ protest
/AZ-protest. It's also on the website, so you'll see it.
It's in every.
Yeah, she's like, I'm on it. She's been dumping it all over. So yeah, that you got a lot going on at Look Ahead America. And Matt told us on Wednesday too about the candlelight vigil. That people want to also. I think you have a link for that yet, or no? Probably not, because it's not gonna. Oh, you do. All right, let's throw that up there too. You're walking and chewing gum at the same time, Ian. And I really think, it's like you really said it before too. I think, and unfortunately, there's more money to be made in one aspect of this, and that's why I think more people focus on it. But it inherently looks backward, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, of course, you want to do this kind of research and this work so you can go to lawmakers and say, look, let's not let this happen again. That you can walk, that's walking, and you can still chew gum and look forward, look ahead, right? That's why you named it that. And exactly. I think you guys should be applauded for that. I really do, because most people, most organizations, they're one-trick ponies, Ian. One-trick ponies. And that act isn't always relevant all the time, right? So exactly. This is a little bit something different. It really is. But yeah, I come back, tell us how it went. We'd love to hear back and see what you got going on moving forward. But all the best tomorrow. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks. So the rally is going to be today at 2 p.m. If you can make it in Phoenix, we'd love to see some people there or send their friends and family in the Arizona rally. Just wanted to say thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. And we're here just to keep everyone accountable, regardless of party. And we want to make sure that election integrity is taken seriously in this country. If you haven't had a chance to, could I mention the Look Ahead America website and how you can sign up?
Absolutely.
Okay, we have
absolutely.
Awesome. We have lookaheadamerica.org/volunteer. You could sign up to work in your state, and we have all kinds of things going. We just got a bill for election integrity in New Jersey introduced, which is really exciting. So we do have stuff and boots on the ground happening. Of course, we're always willing to take a donation to help support us, because it is a lot of work to do this, and we work quite a bit of hours, and we try to keep it as low cost as possible. But rallies and the research, et cetera, does cost money, but we do try to be very transparent about that. And I don't know if your viewers like to go on Discord, but if you go to discord.gg/lookaheadamerica, we have probably the second biggest political Discord out there right now. It's growing really fast. So I'd love to see you and new people hop on there and talk with me and others there too.
I gotta check out Discord. I got so many people that are like, check it out. And I just haven't gotten there yet. You get swamped in different channels, avenues, networks, but that definitely is an option. Yeah, check it out. My favorite is I love when you guys grade the bills. I really do, because for someone who's trying to put a million hats on, looking at different legislation, you guys, it's a good service. That's my favorite. I'm always looking for when you guys come out with new grades on bills. It's unique, but it's also, again, it's a resource, and it's cool, and it's very much needed, to help people understand what a proposal or an entire bill means for them, means for that state. It's cool, man. I like it, Ian. That's my favorite about the site. I got to tell you, that's cool. And I will say this, I'll vouch for him, what he says. I don't know about rallies. We don't organize, but the research costs a fortune, ladies and gentlemen. It does. It costs a fortune. Otherwise, we would be doing it every day, all day as well. But it takes a lot. We'll stick to polling for the most part. All right. Well, again, you're, swing back. Tell us how it's done. Thanks for joining us, Ian.
Real pleasure.
Best of luck. Best of luck later.
Have a good weekend. Take care, guys.
You too. You too.
Bye.
All the best. Check it out, guys. Go to the links. Laura, I saw her just kind of shooting them out there. She was all over it. Yeah, she was all over it. Check them out. I'm going to take a real quick break. Well, not real quick. This is the hour break, right?
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to take that
not
hour,
an
not
hour.
hour, 2-minute break, roughly 2-minute break. And when we come back, I am going to take a little Q&A. All right. We'll bring on our good buddy, Don. It'll be fun. We'll do a little update. I'll give you guys the numbers on the public polling project, see where we're at. All right. All right. Hang tight. Well, if you like the video, hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe, of course, on YouTube if you're still a YouTube viewer. And we got a lot more people moving over to Rumble and other chats. Cool. But definitely hit that thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. That'll let you know we're going to go live. If you're on Rumble, give it the plus sign. Subscribe. That will also let you know when we're going to go live. All right. And the best way to follow us is, of course, to sign up at peoplespundit.locals.com. Check out the merch. Right? Is that what you were going to say? Yeah, check out the merch. Link is in every description in the video right now. They're really cool, and there's some more of it coming. But I got to tell you, the hoodies and I think the V-necks are my fave, right? I think it's mine, right? All right, but we'll see you on the other side of the break. Hang tight. 2 minutes. Here's Bone Band. Badass.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. 'cause you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for a night. Just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Rich,
Coming.
I think it's stopped.
And we're back. Sliding in. And I think actually before I meant to hit the mic. It's solos, but you did it and she heard me. I was like, it's too hot. Hit the thing. All right, we're back. Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Of course, follow us on Twitter at Peoples_Pundit, on Getter at People's Pundit. Best way, of course, to follow me is on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com. Check out the merch. They're really cool. Also, let's do a real quick update here. See where we're at in the public polling project. Two things real quick. One is you will now see on the public polling project on the website, if you go straight to the homepage, trying to make it as easy peasy as possible, because they were like, well, what's the link all the time? If you just go to the homepage now, bigdatapoll.com, you will see, and I'll show you. I'll share screen here. There it is. You will be able to see not only my cool little graphics. Look at that. Nico loved these. He did. Anyway, if you just slide down a section here right now, you could just click here, and that will bring you right to the public polling project. All right. And you don't see it because it's not added. Boom. There it is. Scroll down and you'll see it. They missed my cool little graphic thing. That's all right. Yeah, you can contact us if you have questions, or you could contribute right here. That's the easiest way we could do it. Remember, I told you you're going to see some revamps. That could be as early as today. It's going to get real ugly and real quick until it gets fixed again. We're going through some, not fixed, but changed. We're going to have some updates, some new graphics, really and entirely. It'll be the same theme, color, and stuff. It's just be a different layout. And we didn't do a dev for it because it's already built. So it's really just a race to change it and then publish changes, so you could happen to stumble upon it and it will look like that. So just keep that in mind in case you do run into that. But we tried to make it as easy as possible. So let's check it out and see where we're at. Hopefully we will have a fix here really soon. And I think if we do, I think we can make it, or at least get within striking distance to the point of where I'm a little bit comfortable, because I haven't really been blasting it and pushing it. And we had like an almost $2,000 surge. It's like 16,725 right now. So we're getting pretty close. This will be basically a mixture of economics and a little bit of holiday if we make it before Christmas, which, look, folks, if we hit that target on the 22nd, I will open up the channels and fire them away for 2 days if that's what it takes. I will. So help me, Lord. We'll get it done. If it does before Christmas, or even if it's a little after, I could still ask it. But, do you plan on if it's before? And then prod a little bit more, because we used to have the religiosity index, which was really cool and really predictive, actually, of some voting patterns, which is, I know sounds weird, but North Carolina, for instance, got a little bit less. The religiosity index fell a little bit before Obama won it. And then rose again when Mitt Romney took it back, fell a little bit in 2013, then rose right before Tillis beat Kay Hagan, rose considerably before Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. It's really neat stuff. And then also, we want to ask people about their shopping experiences this holiday season. Of course, we're going to dive into the issues. What we saw with cost of living in the fall 2021 project really was, I don't want to say unprecedented because I'm sure we've been in this time. I just haven't been a pollster when it was like this. All right, we have never had an environment like this. And I want to see people had a difficult time finding gifts, had a difficult time when they did find them, being able to afford them. And then also, though, on the religious aspect, belief systems. How many people celebrate Christmas but don't really believe in Christ, right? And things like that.
Do it because it's just like the folklore?
Yes. Do you do it because it's tradition, or do you do it because you're a believer? If we're going to be doing this for a long time, and God willing, we will be, locals community will continue to grow and grow, then we'll ask this annually. I think it is a good idea. And I don't really see why we wouldn't be around that long to make this the very first one. All right. And a lot of people on the locals community had some really cool ideas when I started presenting to them what I thought would be cool for the survey about shopping and economics. The economics of the holidays. A lot of people had some really great suggestions. And we can take out things like the congressional leaders' favorability ratings. We don't really have to ask that this month. Certain COVID questions, the mandates. We already know which direction that's heading. We've pulled that now, 3 times over 5 months, something roughly around there. We know that the mandates started not even, but more even, and have since gotten more negative. Passports started actually +1. Now where's it at, right? And we know that the vaccine mandates for school-age children are deeply unpopular. The employer mandate has now become deeply unpopular. It was always unpopular with us, but and other pollsters who have actually called elections correctly in the last few years. But it has gotten even more unpopular in the fall. We can take all of that stuff out. We may even be able to take out some of the 2024 stuff. Keep a generic ballot. That's still interesting. Remove, who cares about Kamala Harris's approval? I mean, really, we know it's in the dookie. And we can replace it with some of these other questions, right? Even some school stuff, some of the school things we asked, that can go. It doesn't, this could be a different survey, although I do like to keep I don't know, maybe we can all get rid of the COVID tracker this month. It's been steady pretty much the unvaccinated percentage fluctuates between 20 and 25%. The vaccination fluctuates between 68 and 72. It's been remarkably stable for months and months and months and months. The only difference would be, are you going to get the booster? And if you have been vaccinated, what is your status? Right, same thing, I'm being redundant. But if you have been vaccinated, what is your intention with booster shots? That is relevant because of what is going on, right? We just saw yesterday, the Harvard Press, their paper, whatever, tweeted out that Harvard, like it was like a press release instead of coverage. This is what they're teaching journalists at the Harvard School of Journalism, to regurgitate the powerful, not to be adversarial, to shill for big pharma, and basically be of the hive mind instead of critically think and think for yourself. This is what our nation's top school, Yale, one of top schools, is teaching the next generation of journalists. We're going to mandate that faculty and those in attendance at Harvard get the booster because of Omicron. Even though there's no evidence that Omicron, 1, prevents it, which it doesn't. 2, even reduces the severity of the symptoms, which, by the way, are not severe. Omicron appears to be the least dangerous strain yet.
Say it ain't so. Telling you, I'm calling it the unicorn virus. It's magical.
It's magical. It's never going to end. It's never going to end, and neither will this forever shilling for big pharma. All they're trying to do is pay back companies
Their
like
buddies.
Pfizer. Yes. Pay back Fauci's friends at Moderna. Don't you find it funny that Johnson & Johnson was the only one who went the antigen way, developed a non-mRNA vaccine? Doesn't anyone else find this a little bit funny? And yet the CDC panel recommends that people don't get the Johnson & Johnson shot, and instead get the Pfizer and Moderna. Why? Blood clots. As even my smear merchant friend, who shall not be named, said, is basically small. So they're ignoring all of theirs and anecdotal reports about heart issues and all these other ways. They're ignoring all of that when it comes to Pfizer and Moderna. But God forbid, blood clots in the Johnson & Johnson, and forget about it. Myocarditis, pff, blood clots, hold the phone. Folks, that smells bad to me. That smells really bad. And we ask about mRNA when we're conducting the polling. We never really added Johnson & Johnson. We said mRNA vaccines, which is maybe why we're a little bit lower than some others. But we're generally in the same ballpark. Generally leading the pack. How is it a tiny percentage, a smaller percentage of those who claim myocarditis with the mRNA vaccines, how is it that is alarming over blood clots with Johnson & Johnson, but they're not concerned over the myocarditis?
It's amazing.
It doesn't make any sense, especially since we all know the VAERS system is behind on it. I would have respected them a lot more if they would have just recommended nothing at all. Get either one. It's garbage. It's total garbage. All right. Gonna bring on now the one, the only. Oh, did I miss something?
Yes.
No, it doesn't. That's a great question. That's maybe also why we're a little bit lower. That's a great question. Mikael asked, does your 68% vax, which somebody could double check me. I think it was 68 this month or something. It has ranged, Mikael, from like 68 to 72. Does it include the entire all population, including children? And that's a very good point. I'm really glad you pointed that out. And the answer is no, it's 18 to 29, which is why I'm glad I did not get rid of this graphic yet. Here is where we ask about adverse effects. It starts in 18 to 65. This is the more broad group. We also dumbed it down to like 18 to 29, 30 to 34. The pattern here is very clear, and it's been going on for months. The older you are, the least likely you are to report a severe adverse reaction or event, effect, whatever you want to call it. The younger you are, the more likely you are to report it. So the older you are, the more at risk, the least likely to get an adverse effect. So if you're older, it may behoove you to get the vaccine. It's cost benefit analysis. If you're younger, and 1 in 10 in the 18 to 24 population is reporting a severe adverse effect, and they are not really at risk from this virus, then why aren't we having this conversation as a nation? This is not noise anymore. The first time we did that, that could have been statistical noise. But no, we're 18 to 100, basically. I mean, I'm sure we catch... I don't see how many centennials, right? They're called centennials. I don't know how many centennials are taking polls, like over 100 people. Although we do target people 18 and above, period. I just don't see many of them clicking away, or picking up a phone and sitting on the phone with somebody. That, in my experience, it just doesn't happen. But it does. I mean, actually, 3 months ago, I think someone was like 98, right?
I think so.
It was like 98, which was cool. It's like, whoa. But generally, it's 70s and 80s. It starts to fizzle. All right. That was a great question. That was a really good question.
Mhm.
All right. Especially for clarification purposes.
Well, I was trying to edit while you were saying it, so.
There's many things I want to talk about with my good friend, next guest, the one, the only, Don Smith from the Don Smith Show. Thank you, Don, as always, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, welcome back, my friend, before I even get into it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. And with the new eyes, come on, don't I look so much more handsome?
Actually, they're still very messed up looking, and I'm looking at them like, and just I dimmed the light down and turned the air the air up.
Here I am.
Yeah,
with
because
a
I need.
blanket,
She's
too.
got she's like a blanket, because I like, man, even at the house we fight, I like my house like 60 something degrees. I like it cold. I
like it 70.
and she's like, forget you, my feet hate you. They hate you. She likes it 70, but I always catch her. It's like a man's thermostat is a man's thermostat, all right? Call me a misogynist. And I always catch her 72. And I'm like, who did this? Who did this? And so I just did it to her yesterday.
But I still touch it.
Yeah, I just did it to her yesterday. And we have two, most around here do now because they're different systems. But yeah, they're always messing with them, Don. And the kids will mess with upstairs. And it's like, drives me nuts. I like it cold. Make it snow in the house. I run hot, man. I do. Like, I am a hot-blooded guy. And so are all our children, right? And she was always hated. It's like, they get this from you. Oh, my goodness. These kids are on fire, especially when you sleep, And you're not sick. We're not sick. We just run and expel all our heat or something in our sleep. I don't know where I got this gene from, but I did.
Yeah, I got to have it cold when I'm sleeping.
Gotta have it cold when you're sleeping. Can't stand being hot.
No.
Can't stand it. And, I've been through my fair share of heat from the Army to Florida. I need it cold, Listen, my friend, speaking of children, this is where I want to start off. What the hell is going on at CNN, Don?
What's going on is a major cover-up, right? I mean,
major.
Just like you were saying earlier, this should be all over the place, and everybody should be concerned about this. How is this a political thing, right? Where, well, it's okay because they're CNN. You talked about the Tubin thing earlier. I heard that. Yeah, I mean, this is just insane. It's an entire culture there. Look at the accusations against Don Lemon, right? Who's talking about that? That's not getting any attention. Chris Cuomo, come on. I mean, just look at him. Just think if Chris Cuomo was on Fox News, how many times you would hear the term toxic masculinity, right? The guy can't do anything without he's pumping weights. And I got no problem with somebody pumping weights and all those kind of things. But if you're at CNN, it's like it's a special deal for you, right? You don't have to deal with all these things. You don't get all these accusations. But this is downright sick. It's disgusting. It's vile. There's been a movement on the left, and I've covered this over the years, and it's one of those things where
I know where you're going.
It makes people uncomfortable when you talk about this, but when you try to change definitions and call it, let's call it minor attracted people. No, they're pedophiles. They're pedophiles. Anybody who's had kids, especially young daughters, you get this. Let's not nice it up, right? We've got to nice everything up if you're on the left, right? If you're on the right, you think they're calling, if this was Tucker Carlson, you think they're going to say, well, he's just a minor attracted person. No.
Roy Moore, Don. Roy Moore. Look what they did over 17-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, however long it was ago in Alabama, where that was right or wrong, par for the course.
Yep. Absolutely.
This is a man with a woman who he's going to marry, fantasizing since she's 14 now, but apparently since she was 13, about his fiance's daughter. I don't want to get explicit. If you watch the tape, listen to his audio.
What they've done, Rich.
What would happen if that was a Fox News?
We know what would happen. We know it would be on a continuous loop. What they've done over the years, and my business is communications, so words are very important. What they've done is they've made it very difficult to have honest conversations. They always talk about, well, let's sit down and have an honest conversation. You can't. They've taken all these words out of the language. They've changed the meaning of all these words. They've been doing this for years. So when you're trying to nice up a pedophile, A pedophile, maybe a pedophile is just a pedophile. They're an evil, horrible, rotten person. And maybe we should all, if you want to have an honest conversation, that's the honest conversation. When you got to start calling them, well, they're just minor attracted.
That's what Laura just said.
They're
Yep, that's
pedophiles.
They're evil.
Evil.
Yeah, I remember years ago. You may remember this. Years ago. I think it was like 2014, 15, 13 maybe. At the start of People's Pundit Daily. Interviewed this doctor in Canada. And the sick part about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that the prison system in this province used him as an expert opinion. He had pictures of explicit pictures on his walls in his office of not just, male and female genitalia, like young, he said it was to let them know that he wasn't judgmental. And basically his whole entire argument was that it's our fault that we view them evil. Correct. It's our fault that we view them to be bad, dangerous people, that it's not their fault. Just like being heterosexual or homosexual or whatever, they're pedophiles, and it's not their fault, and that we just have to live with them, and it shouldn't be criminal. So this is a guy who is being asked by the court systems in Canada, what do we do with this particular offender, and what would somebody like that? What do you think his recommendation would be to the court? And he doesn't even advocate for chemical like castration, or removing their libido, whatever. He doesn't even advocate for that. He says they should get intense psychotherapy until they prove otherwise. And my reaction was, by prove otherwise, you mean molest a child. That's what you mean.
So you're willing to
to take the innocence of a child. Wow.
Yep.
Just wow. But you're right, and you have been talking about this a while. This is the direction some people have been moving in for a long time. But they'll use it to take out a political candidate if they feel that. First of all, they inaccurately characterize Roy Moore as a pedophile. You know what I mean? 17 years old. That was the one that I found credible. I could definitely see Roy Moore coming home with his uniform on and being like, hey, 17-year-olds, I could definitely see that. I didn't really believe the 13-year-old. I didn't. I'm sorry. And the other one, by the way, that yearbook looked fraudulent to me, Don. It looked like it was altered. I'm sorry. It did. But there were others that definitely sounded totally legitimate to me. Now, he didn't really take it anywhere, but he was trying. And I just myself was trying to put myself in that place. Was I comfortable with it? Not really, but I was trying to put myself in that place in time. You have to, when you're talking about history, you have to. It's only fair to those people in history, right? I mean, I was just said it before. Look, Jerry Lee Lewis. He was a national hero, Alabama's favorite son, married his 13-year-old cousin. At least he married her, but he married his 13-year-old cousin. So things were different back then. But now, I completely agree with the viewer before who commented that actually, if you really listen to this guy looks like a predator. He sounds like a predator. It's more than just a fascination or a fantasy. He may even, seek out this woman's affection to get close or get this opportunity with her younger daughter. He appeared to give them. I didn't mention this in the first segment, but the woman who came forward, he gave her money. Because she's known him for 10 years. It started as a sexual relationship for money. She was a prostitute. He just had, given her money as a help out, apparently. Like, here's a friend helping a friend. And in exchange, if you read that text message, you'll know, guys especially, you'll know it when you see it. He says it jokingly, but it's not a joke. How about some mommy-daughter nudes together, right? And he's like, ha, ha, ha. He's just in case she gets mad, he can act like it's a joke, but he's not joking. He just gave you money and he wants those pics. That's it.
Yep.
This guy is a scumbag, man.
Yep. Absolutely.
And CNN didn't even respond. They haven't responded. As far as I know, when the show first started, I could be wrong. Maybe they got back to Project Veritas, but they didn't get back to anybody else, as far as I know, including us. Always just simply ask, what the hell is going on at CNN? Here's the link. That's what, and basically what I tweeted. That's and there's no response. There has been no response since last night.
It's the whole thing. I mean, it's a game plan. It's about making it uncomfortable to talk about these things, and then it excuses these people. They'll make it very comfortable to talk about if it's somebody on the right. Everything is about politics now. Look what's going on with the man swimming against the girls, and you can't say that. I get in big trouble. Fox News would shut me down if I made that comment on. I was watching this morning and watching a segment on that. They're talking about this, right? So this man who's swimming and he's kicking their butts. It's happening in track. It's happening in. Wait till there's money involved. Wait till men start competing against women in tennis and in soccer. Megan Rapinoe, you think she might have something to say then? I bet she does. But they make it so uncomfortable for you to talk about that makes you the bad person if you say like what I just said about a man swimming against girls, because that's exactly what he's doing. I don't care how many surgeries, how many pills you take. It doesn't matter. Biology is biology. These are biological facts, but they've made it so twisted, so distorted that you can't talk about these things. And you're the bad person. Be you the one that talks about them. And that's where we're at as a society. So feminism isn't about feminism anymore. It's about politics. This trans stuff isn't about being trans. It's about politics. You don't think feminism is about feminism anymore? Ask Sarah Palin. Anybody remember that? I think everybody remembers that. But where's Fox?
It's a weapon.
Where's Fox talking about this CNN stuff? Where's anybody talking about it?
That's why somebody had said, they broadly talked about it. No, ladies and gentlemen, for 48 hours 2.5 years ago, they were talking with mere speculation about Donald Trump having a sexual relationship with his daughter because of the way he put his hand on her back or something ridiculous, right? Wasn't it like something totally ridiculous? And everybody had something to say about it. This is, like you said, it's a weapon. But the sick part about this, Don, where Ron DeSantis is a modern day feminist. I mean, a real one. I'm talking about as the feminist movement began, according to its goals, Ron DeSantis is more of a feminist than any of the so-called feminists you will see on MSNBC. Why? He is protecting the young girls and the young women from this insane attempt to rob them of their future, to rob them of their accomplishments. Like you said, wait until money is involved, because right now, universities don't care. They don't care. It's not really hitting their bottom line. They get to look cool and virtuous and woke, and it doesn't really matter. But wait, just wait. And I always say it, and this is why we pulled this. If this is the direction you're going to go as far as that is concerned, then you really have to be prepared to watch a man beat the living tar out of a woman. Yeah, Don. Yeah. I had to do it. It was eye time. Yeah, now we're in it. Now we're in it to win it, my friend.
I want to make you comfortable. I'm here to make you comfortable.
I feel honestly, I think it's kind of cool looking, but I'm an eye to eye kind of guy, so it's like it's weird. But now we're matching, we're twinsies, so it doesn't matter.
So it's good,
right? And just so people are just popped on, what the hell are these two doing? Well, I had LASIK and I had needed drops, and the lights bother my eyes. And Donna's doing it to be supportive of me. All right,
exactly. I'm with you, man.
And he's with me, power to the eyeglasses. I mean, Don, I really don't know where we are, though, as a society when you start to neglect the well-being of children in order to, achieve your goal or to protect somebody who shares your common goals, which is what this is all about. You said before, it's the culture. It's a culture at CNN. Well, then what does it say about the cultures of other news organizations who refuse to cover it?
Right. Or even take it out of the media stuff. Talk about the individuals. So you've got Martina Navratilova, just an example for the trans athlete thing. So here's a feminist icon. She was around a long time ago. She was also obviously for the gay movement and all those kind of things. She's only concerned about the tennis aspect from a professional standpoint. Why does it only matter if it's about when money's involved and when it could affect her friends who are earning their living off of
That's
playing
right.
tennis, female friends? It should, like you said, Governor DeSantis is protecting all women, all girls, because that's who's under assault here. I mean, it's not like the other way around. It's working the other way around, right? Where
Yeah.
girls are competing against boys and they're kicking their butts in, wrestling or whatever the case may be. This is about protecting human beings. Look at the crime stuff. Look at the crime stuff that's going on around the country. What about protecting the citizens? The community. They want to defund the police. Well, who does that disproportionately impact? Everything's about disproportionately impacting minorities, women of color, all these kind of things. What about that? I think that disproportionately impacts them, but we don't care about that. We only care when we can use it for a political narrative, when we can use it for political gain. That's the only time it's important to them. And that's a sad commentary on society in general.
Yeah, I remember you just popped this picture of these two Hispanic, I mean, they were ghetto, and Bedford Stuyvesant, and talking. They were like, "Listen, you all need to bring back Rudy Giuliani." They were like, "This neighborhood is dangerous." It was so funny. It's them and the very people they claim to champion that really do get hurt from it. Rasmussen poll the other day, is crime increasing, and they want to, like you, I think you said this on your show last week. You were like, they claim crime isn't rising, only violent crime.
Right.
Only violent crime.
Only murder.
Oh, okay. Only murder. Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, okay, maybe there aren't as many people stealing Starbursts at the K store this year. All right, but that's something to tout. Okay,
you bring up Giuliani, and that is a great example because it was the broken windows thing, right? Well, if you take care of this minor crime stuff, then it'll stop other people because people know you're taking everything seriously. Look at this Mayor London, San Francisco. So they started with, they're like, you know what? If homeless people want to defecate in the streets, let them. I mean, they're homeless people. For God's sakes, we're just going to look the other way. Drugs, you know what? Let's quit arresting people for drugs. In fact, let's give them needles and a place to inject the drugs at. What could possibly go wrong? But they've escalated this, right? Every election cycle, somebody comes in, now it's prostitution's okay. Now it's petty theft is okay. Carjacking, not a problem. Until it becomes a problem and it overwhelms the system. Now she's all furious. Oh, we got to put an end to this BS and we got to... You created the BS. You created this entire situation. Look at Giuliani and the broken windows. Yeah,
I got to tell you, as far as I get the whole... I remember John Stossel making the argument using Europe, some places in Europe who had, clean needle and even free heroin programs, for addicts as a way to reduce crime. This flies in the face of the only program, in my experience, that works for drug addiction, which is NA and outpatient NA, stuff like outpatient treatment that really works with the program. Look, that's the only time I've ever seen people succeed or fail. You either follow the program. Very, 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 very few people will not end up where drug addiction leads, which is either jail or death. Very few people can say, all right, I realize I have a problem, I'm going to quit, and it's me and me alone. That doesn't happen. And the problem I have with clean needle programs and, the like or worse, that's enabling.
Right.
And if you're enabling a drug addict, believe me, that drug addict's going to continue to be a drug addict. Right. It is only when the addict hits rock bottom and wants to get help, or like they say, gets sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's it. If you keep enabling them, Don, they're just going to keep trucking along. Yep. So I don't understand how government policy, it'll help reduce crime, but it'll destroy that human being's quality of life and it will weaken society. So, overall, isn't there another way to go about reducing crime? How about, and I hate to say it, I'm going to sound like draconian. If you take the Giuliani approach, you force those minor drug offenders to hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And when they are on rock bottom, praise God, they hopefully get sick and tired of being sick and tired. They don't hit rock bottom when you keep enabling them and putting a pillow under their butt every time they fall. They'll just keep being a drug addict, and it's a waste of a precious life that could have been productive, could have been creative, could have loved somebody, could have been loved by somebody. There is no love. There is no production. There is no creativity in drug addiction. It is a never-ending miserable cycle. But it's just one more. Go ahead.
Two biggest things when it comes to homelessness, right? So number one, compassion is not helping people. That's not compassion. Right. That's what you just said. It's enabling. Two biggest problems, mental health and drug use. Nobody helps with either one of them. That's not compassion. Help these people. They can be helped. I mean, there's ways to help them. Geraldo Rivera famously shut down Willowbrook, was the first one, right? So they were treating these patients in this big, giant mental facility, state-run mental facility, New York City or New York. And he shut them down because they were treating them poorly. And he touts this. He goes around and he brags. He beats on his chest. I got them shut down. Where do you think they went? Where do you think they went? It was the biggest facility.
He moves to Ohio. But then he leaves and he moves to Ohio.
Yep. But that's not compassion. The compassionate thing would have been to fix the treatment of these mental patients in this facility. Fix how they're treating them. That's the solution. Putting them out on the streets so they're homeless now. And now, well, here's some free needles. That's not compassion. That doesn't help anybody. It doesn't solve a single problem. In fact, it's created more problems. And he brags about it. A bunch of other ones got shut down because they looked into it and they went, oh, yeah. So it became a social activist movement. You were doing great things by shutting down these mental facilities all over the country. Well, yeah, bravo. Where do you think they are now?
Yeah, I mean, Don, teach. I mean, it is biblical, but it's not really technically a verse. But you don't keep giving somebody a fish because they're hungry. You teach them how to fish so they can feed themselves. I mean, this is like old school Protestant ethics stuff. And I hate to say it, but there's a lot of problems in society and our thinking, that leads people to believe that it's okay for a middle-aged man to want to get fellatio from a 13-year-old girl. But that's what happens when you drop basic principles and basic pillars of support in society, as Washington said, religion and morality are. When everyone, we don't have to be such religious zealots. The country started, Plymouth Rock. They were a bunch of religious zealots. We don't need. You're talking about going backward. No, I'm talking about keeping basic principles that keep, human life, and they wouldn't abort 500,000 babies a year. It would not be within their their moral code to do. They're just one after another. If you lose those basic ideas, then you start to stray into relativism and anything goes kind of behavior, or my truth is different from your truth, except instead of having a central truth about what is right and wrong about a particular issue or action or whatever it may be. It all just crumbles without those basic ideas. And then you're able to arbitrarily apply this selective outrage to Roy Moore over what he was accused of doing, while remaining silent while in the face of these accusations. That's where relativism brings you. So I mean, it really all falls to it really all goes back to that. It does, man. It really does, my friend. Okay, finish your thought.
I was just going to say, okay, you take the issue of abortion, right? And the reason that it pulls the way it does is very simple, because the talking points around it would be safe, legal, and rare. It's not rare.
Yeah.
It's not rare. Yeah. It's commonplace. But they continue to say that, and so people go, well, yeah, but it's rare. No, it's not. Look at the numbers.
I totally agree, by the way. And it's never phrased the practice, the reality is never how it is never conducted the way that they talk about it. It's just not true. It is abortion absolutely used as birth control. Oh my, absolutely. Yes. Let's get to some questions here. Ashton Upton, why is Liz Cheney going scorched earth on Republicans? What's her end game? Don, there's rumors that she's going to try. These people really overstate their own importance, boy. Let me tell you. I mean, we saw this with what was his name? I forgot his name. Muffin. whatever. We saw this before. She's going to try to run as an independent to stop Trump in 2024, because just so the viewers know out there, last 2 weeks has been an utter terror. They're all in DC. They're all terrified. In the last 2 weeks, it's becoming increasingly clear to them that Donald Trump is probably going to come back and with a vengeance, and they're terrified. So she is thinking of running as an independent, hoping to pull some of the Republican vote away from Donald Trump. We saw this and heard this story before. I think she's just trying to pay back her daddy and her benefactors. I mean, this is a family who has been taking money from people who hate America first, hate Donald Trump, what he stands for, hate, realism as a foreign policy. These people make money off of war and death. They love it. That's who pays her.
Yep.
I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
I think
she's typical blood diamond girl, dude.
Yeah.
I have no respect for this woman whatsoever.
No, there's two things going on here when it comes to Liz Cheney. Number one, it's personal for her, right? Because she had her spat.
I forgot that. You're right.
She had a spat with Donald Trump, and she's never going to let go of that, right? So it's very personal for her. It's in her veins. It's in her blood. But there's also another thing here. There's a political landscape right now. There's a huge divide. When you look at the left, there's a huge divide between the far left and the left, right? And we can see that. That's the difference between the squad and Joe Manchin, for one example, the huge divide. On the right, there's also still a divide. There's a divide between the America First pro-Trump crowd and then the more moderate, I'll be nice, the more moderate Republicans. She thinks that if she can capture the more moderate Republicans, which are the never Trumpers, right? If she can capture them,
cowards.
Yeah. But then she can also capture that moderate, somewhat moderate left, which is the Joe Manchins, Kirsten Sinemas, the people that support all that. So I think that's her political game here. She's positioning herself for a 2024 run, and she figures if she can capture those middles, that she's going to be in good shape. So I think it's a calculated move, but I think it's based off initially her personal vendetta against Donald Trump.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I didn't bring that up. You're absolutely right. And I think people would be surprised at how many people really do hate Donald Trump over personal beef. Adam Kinzinger believed that Donald Trump would appoint him the Secretary of the Air Force. I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen. He did not hate Donald Trump until Donald Trump passed him over for the Secretary of the Air Force. Same thing with Judge Napolitano. He was a pro-Trump legal analyst on Fox News. He really believed that Donald Trump was going to appoint him to the Supreme Court. When he realized that wasn't going to happen, when Adam Kinzinger realized he wasn't going to be the Secretary of the Air Force, there are dozens of these people. Then they became never Trumpers. Go back, find Adam Kinzinger on Fox News in November of 2016 and listen to Adam Kinzinger then, who knew everything he needed to know about Donald Trump. He was shilling like a villain, trying to get to be the Secretary of the Air Force. And when he was turned down, then he went negative. That is God's honest truth. These people are dirtbags. I'm glad you brought that up, Don, because a lot of it is absolutely personal. Aiden Clark, are you thinking of pulling the Ohio Senate? The primary is a mess, and we don't know who's going to win the GOP primary. And they like J.D. Vance. I don't know yet. Listen, and let me just be honest with you. There's a lot of things that I think I would like to poll. Florida is my shtick. So if I poll something this election, it will be a realistic number between Ron DeSantis and whoever else is running, just because Florida it's my state. I'm the most accurate in Florida. And I feel like I want to continue that trend. I know the state like the back of my hand better than anybody else. I was more accurate than anyone else in Ohio this time too, but it's not my, if I have limited resources. So also there are a lot of people, Aiden, who want me to do things basically free for them. So they would love for me to pull the election they're in. I'm just going to put it out like that. And right, Don, you know it. Yeah. Right. So I would really be, I just don't like it. I don't like, because it's not like an in-kind campaign contribution. Yeah, but it's not for them.
Oh,
what they want me to do is do it publicly without them having to pay. They want my numbers. They want my polling, but they don't want to pay. So I got to tell you, Aiden, I don't know about that one because that's a situation. Like if I polled Florida, Ron DeSantis isn't going to try to like dupe and wait for Rich to poll Florida and then say, all right, he pulled it for free. Where do I stand? He's not that guy. Whereas I think there is some of that going on in Ohio right now with, and I'm just not going to get, what's the word, Laura?
Steamrolled?
Rolled. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I think that Vance probably has that poll that showed Vance surging. I think that's probably real. Donald Trump's endorsement in Ohio is ginormous. All right, to make up a word. It's big in the Midwest, period. It's big. Ohio loves Donald Trump. Told you that state wasn't going to be close, guys. That was one of the few states where Donald Trump not only added a solid approval rating, Don, but his favorability rating was like, yeah, we like him. We don't give a damn what anybody says. I mean, that's Ohio. They were like, we like him. He's our guy. I don't care what he says. I don't care how crass he is. We love him. That's it. Take a hike. They were not ever offended by Donald Trump. What do you think about that, Don, by the way, with that primary real quick before we go into the next ones?
Actually, I kind of want to make, if you don't mind, I want to make kind of a more general statement here, because this is kind of talking about the Liz Cheney thing, right? Where her strategy is, I'm going to grab these people. The left strategy right now, and it's going to this is going to be a bigger thing for them going forward. Their only goal right now, their only possibility of doing well in these midterms that are coming up, and ultimately the 2024 election as well, is going to be to create that divide. I said we're not as far divided on the right when it comes to the pro-Trump people versus the never-Trump people, I'm talking the ones that vote Republican. They've got to create a huge gap between those two. They need our gap to catch the gap on the left.
That's right.
It's the only hope that they have is to either get the never-Trumpers to stay home. If you're a candidate who's got the President Trump endorsement, they either need you to stay home or they just need to create an all-out civil war, because they've got one going on their side. So it's the only hope they have. It's only chance. And that's why they're going to keep doing the rabbit hole question, like, do you think the election was stolen? Do you think? And they're going to try to get you in that rabbit hole so that they can divide. And their goal is to divide the right against ourselves.
And America First B says, you think, I mean, I can answer this one really quick. You think we might replace Kevin McCarthy as leader of the Republican Party in 2022? That's what it's all about this time. I don't know. I mean, that's the central question. Look, it depends what happens in Washington 3. It depends what happens in Georgia 10. Depends what happens in 2 districts in Florida. It really, I mean, I don't know. You're asking me right now about 300 and something races that we don't know the outcome to. 30 of which really matter, could cost McCarthy the gavel. They're all done. And there's already talk he may not have those votes. So I think ultimately he does, but maybe not after this election. After this election, he may not, man. Don, we're going to see a few go in there. They're not going to be jumping to raise their hand for Kevin McCarthy. And we know they're going to win. So that's, I can count 3 right away who intimately they're going to win, and they're not going to vote for Kevin McCarthy. Or at least they're leaning no, right? Not leaning, they're no right now. And he would have to do something to earn their vote, which I just don't see. Plus, I do hear of a little like, I don't want to say it, but there is a plan. There is. And I just don't. He needs the votes. I think I could take my glass off now. But the guy with the plan needs the votes. So I don't think anybody can answer that right now. Would you agree, Don?
I would, yeah. I think he's a smarter politician than Paul Ryan. And I also think back to your recent polling where there was not so much the ones who were strongly in favor of, strongly opposed, more so the name recognition. He doesn't have that upfront, in-your-face name recognition that like a Paul Ryan, for example, or a Mitch McConnell or somebody like that has. So I think he's a more astute politician. I think he'll do whatever he needs to do to hang on to that power. So he'll shift some of his positions. Yep. He'll cover both ends of the spectrum, right? He'll do the never Trump thing, and then he'll come back with the next day with a pro-Trump thing. And so I think he's a smarter politician. So yeah,
that's why, Don, people always say, and is he politically stupid? Why doesn't he corral these people? How could he let all these defections? in his mind, because he's a
Mhm.
California Republican. All right.
Mhm.
He's a fool. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make enemies here. I'm just being honest with the audience.
Mhm.
He believes the nonsense. Like, he believes the nonsense that Texas 15 wasn't about to topple over. Like, he believes Florida 27 was lost last time. He's a fool. And he thinks that if he plays both sides of the fences, like Don is saying, then that's what he's doing. When there's like a vote, the way you saw with the vaccine database, with the, impeachment, with the bill, not Bill Beck, better, the infrastructure bill,
Yep.
because he feels, well, I have to keep all of my cards on the table, because if these people win, they're my votes, while the other people are going to turn on me. Instead of just having conviction and knowing that if you take care of your voters, they will take care of you. And if and he just he may end up like Eric Cantor. Not that he would lose a primary. He could. Eric Cantor proves anybody could lose a primary. He would be harder to take out than Eric, though, because
He would.
people weren't paying attention. But when Dave Bratt just took Eric completely off guard, and he had John McLaughlin polling for him, who was telling him he was 13 points ahead. When we knew, Laura, that was an immigration race, and he was going down. It was stunning to us, but we knew that was going to happen. But now I think Kevin McCarthy he remembers Cantor, and he's trying to play it that way.
Yeah, he represents the machine, right? So you hear this term, the machine. He represents the machine. And I think back to Pennsylvania 1 last election cycle. I was with Andy Meehan, and we almost took him out. And it was the last minute stuff that he did.
Close, man.
He brought the machine in 2 weeks before because they were really nervous. That was for Brian Fitzpatrick to save his rear end. He brought in Karl Rove, and he brought in all these people, and it turned the tide, because we were nipping at his heels. So he represents.
I think at one point you were ahead, and they brought the machine in and put and buoyed it back a little bit. Like Pete, it was like don't take a chance, kind of a. They did the textbook establishment thing.
Yep.
This is a close district. Don't take a chance.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that close, Don. That's a burner. It
Yeah,
does, man.
yeah.
I've
Still
had something
stings.
that, like, pisses me off. It stings. Yeah, right. Can Mike Lee or Jim Jordan get the votes for leaders? I honestly think that's roughly the same question. I mean, really, we don't know the answer to that right now. Did Republicans redistrict fairer than they could have? Should they have jerried more? Let me answer that with a question back at you. Do you think Democrats would have jerried more?
Mm-hmm.
It's the answer to that question. Right, Don?
Yep, 100%.
Do Rich and Don think getting Biden into office was a Pyrrhic victory for Dems? Ooh, that's a good question. What do you think, Don?
I think they thought it was. And I think, look what's going on right now. So they're in a really, really bad place right now, because here they had, I said this before, I said this early on in this election process. I said Joe Biden will be their nominee, and there's deals being made right now that are making that happen. So those deals were made, right? So the deal was Joe Biden was going to run he's going to do the one term, right? He was going to be a one-term guy, which means they already had it worked out who was going to be the successor to him, right? And now here he is. Look what's going on. He's gone, oh, no, I'm going to run again. You bet I'm going to run again. There is a lot of upheaval going on right now. There are a lot of backroom meetings, a lot of cigars getting smoked, and they're not happy. So on top of all the other problems they have, it really was the worst thing that could have happened to them, because every promise he made, he broke. And there is so much turmoil, upheaval, infighting going on the left right now that we're not going to hear about from the media. Nobody's going to talk about that, but we know what's going on. So was it a pure victory for them? Absolutely not. It was an absolute nightmare and a disaster, and they're going to pay for it. I don't care what he can stand there and say, listen, pal, and he can do all that stuff he wants about how they're going to wipe us up in the 2022 midterms. Yeah. No, they're not. And he knows it. They know it. Every single one of them knows it.
That's a perfect answer. I'm not even going to add to that. Does Rich think New Mexico could shift like Nevada? No. And I've done you should search my videos on New Mexico. You'll find the New Mexico voter analysis. The short answer, because I did it an hour, I think, just on New Mexico. The short answer is, like Colorado, New Mexico is younger. All right. And you have a more concentrated population in Albuquerque. Same as you do in Denver, than you do in Nevada. the urban areas are not as liberal in Nevada than they are in Albuquerque. There's no major university. There's no, like, it's a very different culture. You have a different kind of Hispanic vote in these urban centers too. That's why Trump did so well in Clark County. Those are working class Hispanics. Same thing, goes, like I said, New Mexico would be harder to tip than Colorado. I'm not saying it will never happen. You know how I feel about coalitions. The only thing consistent about them is that they consistently shift. But right now, the age disparity is the issue. It could get closer because Democrats are eroding with young voters right now. I never thought I'd see the day where it would happen this quickly. For those who didn't believe me, Don, look at Glenn Youngkin. It happened. So I mean, that the 18 to 29 was a few points. That's it. And people weren't paying attention. Trump won every single age group in Ohio. Every single age group. Iowa, every single age group. He came close to carrying young voters in Florida. So, I mean, people were really, it started under Trump, and then under Biden, it just totally just went in a tube. And I don't think that is a normal first-term incumbent midterm thing, because that didn't happen with Republicans in 10 or 14. Yep. This is different. Although Republicans did, I think they tied. Was it? I just checked this, Laura, in 10. Mm-hmm. In the midterm in 2010, did they win women by 1? In the generic ballot, I think they won them by 1. Because I went and looking, and I saw Donald Trump was actually leading. It was even, dead even among gender women, and with men, he was just killing Biden. Rasmussen found it too. I think they had Trump up by like 2 with women. A lot of someone else's that helped, and undecideds for sure. But I went back and researched, when was the last time a Republican presidential candidate even won women? That was Herbert Walker Bush beat Dukakis by 3 points with women, clobbered him with men. Reagan carried women easily, 11 points or something. And then that was it. Bush v. Gore was Gore by like 6 more. Bush came closer with Kerry. He was 3 points behind Kerry. And then it's been only midterms since then where Republicans have won nationally women. That's I don't think the chance of Michelle Obama throws her hat in the ring. I get these questions a lot. Listen, to be honest with you, and the reason why they're asking is because you're saying the bench is so weak, and it is weak. It's really weak. I just don't see it, Don. And I see Michelle Obama being like a blend of Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. The truth is, she's not a nice woman. The media image of her, like it was of Kamala, will quickly crumble, and it will be left with a nasty woman like Hillary Clinton was. Like, you're such a nasty woman. Remember that, Donald Trump? Mm-hmm. What a nasty woman, he tells the camera. Oh my God, I almost had a heart attack laughing. And the funny and the irony was, like, both my kids were like, she's a mean lady, and Donald Trump just turns and says it, which was hilarious. I just don't see it done. Maybe they, if they're totally, maybe somebody would try. I don't see it.
You don't go from the White House. Okay, so I see this as the same question.
She's not Hillary in that sense,
Well, and I see this as the same question. People say, well, what about Barack Obama on the Supreme Court? He's not going to go from the president to the Supreme Court. He's not going to do it.
Which is the same reason why Trump's not going to be the speaker.
Speaker of the House.
Exactly. It's a demotion, ladies and gentlemen. Exactly. It's a demotion.
Yep.
He was the most powerful man in the world.
Right.
For crying out loud.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
My mother-in-law is like, I heard this. And I'm like, Lord, just stop. You sound like Pelosi fans 4 years ago. Stop.
It's like somebody being the CEO of a company, leaving the company, and then coming back 5 years later because they're like, I want to be the director of manufacturing or sales. Or,
Can I help you out in the mail room?
You're not going to do it. Yeah, exactly.
No.
Not going to happen.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, look, and then so what about Senate? Something like that. That same goes. I mean, really does same go. And if she loses, she'd be like ruined. Hillary Clinton always had her sights on power. It was and she was a senator. So she went from first lady to Senate. I know what you're saying. Will she follow that same thing? She doesn't. Look, Hillary had a chance to walk away from Bill, and
people always think like when the Monica thing happened, she decided I'm going to make this work for me. Ladies and gentlemen, she was using Bill Clinton way before that. If you know anybody who knows the Clintons, you know, and has known them for years, she was the real power player when he was running for governor of Arkansas. I mean, when they were dating, for crying out loud, this is what people will tell you. Yeah, she was just biding her time, waiting for it to become acceptable for women to run for president. Her husband was her tool. It was a tool for her.
Right.
They're not in love, ladies and gentlemen.
It was an arrangement.
Most
people are married. They have an arrangement. Huge difference. Huge difference.
Very. That was a great way to put it. All right. Wow. We actually rifled through a bunch of them, and it's 1:05, which means it's time for my my next. So I think we'll wrap it up there. I'll be honest, it's kind of annoying. 7 days of this, but at least it got to the point yesterday. Here, actually, because I forget, I bring it everywhere with me. Yesterday was every hour, Don, the steroid drop, plus lubrication every 30 minutes, plus the other one 4 times a day. All right. Now
it'll be worth it.
It will be worth it. I can already see like a champ. My left eye's already 2020. My right is 2025. But he said some take a little bit of time to improve. We'll see. I'll go back in a week or 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And now, day 3, I'm on 1 drop 4 times a day of Imprimis and lubrication every 30 minutes. So it's getting tapering off. The only thing is, my friend, I don't think I can sleep in goggles for 7 days.
Yes, you are.
Hey, Laura, I want that.
Duct tape your hands.
I need that picture, Laura.
I got pictures, Don.
For the file.
Folks, she's about to dump a picture of me sleeping.
These goggles are
on locals in goggles. I should revoke her administrative access right now. Ori, where are you? Take the creds. Take the creds. Oh, that looked ridiculous.
Good stuff.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But what are you going to do? You know what, though? Funny. It actually stopped me last night. What did I do last night? I woke up. I'm like half in and out. What do I do? First thing anybody does, rub your eyes. As a matter of fact, I'm calling the doctor right after the show while I'm working. And I didn't ask him on the follow-up. When can I rub my damn eyes? Does anybody else know? Has anybody else had this done? And because that's supposed to be among the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
The 2 things.
I'm sure.
Don't obviously poke your eye or anything like that, but don't rub your eyes and do not let them dry out. You know, and I asked Laura, I'm a major eye rubber. I'm an OCD eye rubber, Don. I'm like, splash water, rub the eyes. Splash water, rub the eyes. That's why the pandemic never concerned me. I was always washing 20 million times a day anyway. You know? We are the new Matrix movie. Don and I are about to start moving in like supersonic speed. It's going to look like crazy. Did you see there's a new Matrix movie? Did you see that?
No.
I got to see it.
Oh, Keanu Reeves is
Neo.
He's Neo. It's like, and he somehow has forgotten that he was Neo. And I don't know yet. I don't want to spoil it, but I got to tell you, I got to check it out. It looks cool, Don. I mean, you're our generation.
Yeah.
That movie was cool. It was like another level, you know, new graphics, new everything. It's like a hallmark of the 90s, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fashion with a purpose. Yeah, I guess with that, we'll go. Tell people what you got going on tomorrow, and also, anything else?
Yeah.
Monday, even if you want to get that.
We got a lot of great stuff going on tomorrow. So we've got Bill Whittle. We've got Jerry Molen, amazing Hollywood guy, talking about how Hollywood has changed. What's it like now? Because he's a hardcore conservative, always has been. So, of course, he's Schindler's List, producer of that. He's producer of Rain Man, Days of Thunder, Minority Report, Tootsie. Like this guy's got like 50 movies that are like major movies that he's been involved with. He also played for those who want a visual of him.
He was the doctor.
He was the doctor, Dr. Bruner in Rain Man. So amazing guy. He talks about the creation of Abe.
Charlie Babbitt. Charlie Babbitt taught me how to drive. Charlie Babbitt, he taught me how to drive.
Exactly.
Love that movie.
So really cool insights from him. He also did all the Dinesh D'Souza movies. So the documentaries that Dinesh did. So
Very
really cool
talented
guy.
man.
Bill Whittle, like I said, of course, Peter Hussey on the program. We've got you. I'm waiting for final confirmation on Arizona Representative Andy Biggs, they're trying to get Mayorkas. They want him to testify. They want him held accountable for what's happened at the southern border. So he sent a letter to the Department of Justice, waiting to see what they got back. And so doing final confirmation on him for tomorrow. So we got a big show, a lot of stuff going on, noon Eastern time tomorrow, DonSmithShow.locals.com. Check it out. And what are you going to talk about?
What are we always? The same thing we talk about every day, Brain. Polling. Plan to take over the polling world, right? Remember that guy? Pinky in the Brain? That's another classic for me, anyway. Yeah, so that's a big show, Don.
Yeah,
that's a big show.
Is. I know. I'm going to have to keep it moving to get everything.
Don't miss it, folks. Don't miss it. As always, the one, the only, Don Smith. To give Brenda our best, of course. I'll talk to you soon. But I'll talk to you shortly. But all the best, my friend. Thanks again, as always, man.
Thank you. Love you, Laura. And I'll wait for that picture for the file.
It's going in the file.
It's going in the file.
Going in the file, Don.
See you soon, buddy.
See you, everybody. Thanks.
The one, the only Don Smith, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds like a jam-packed show. So definitely don't miss it. Check it out tomorrow, noon Eastern Standard Time. I'll tweet it out, of course, but Don Smith Don Smith Show.locals.com. All right, and real quick before we go, I just want to give a little repeat. I've been doing my daily quotes for Christmas. I hope you guys have been checking them out and enjoying them. For locals, you've been getting the Christmas tree in increments every day with a new quote. Wait until you see the new one tomorrow, what the tree looks like. All right, first we started with just a few, we started with the ribbon, the tree, then the ribbon, then a few balls, then a few more balls, and now we're getting some finials. Oh, wait until you see it tomorrow. It's glamorous. Lord did a magnificent job, but of course, most importantly are the quotes. All right, Jesus is the reason for the season, but even still, make sure it's weekend. You got kids. We're gonna try our best to do a bunch of things with the kids this weekend while we juggle work, and that's really what it's all about. I hope you guys do that and enjoy time with your friends and family. If you know a friend or a family member who isn't, around or doesn't have people around them for the holidays, take a few minutes to call them. Tell them you're thinking about them and you miss them during the holidays, and that you're there for them if they're just, need a phone call or someone to talk to. It is a holly jolly season, but for some, they can get kind of lonely, so just keep that in mind. All right. Check it out. You will not be disappointed tomorrow, locals. You will not be disappointed. Though I don't know that it'll be the final picture tomorrow. Probably not, because I got more quotes to come. And I hope you're enjoying them. They're really cool. Everything from Washington Irving to quotes from the Bible to Linus from Charlie Brown's Christmas. All things that I feel should round it all out. All right. Stay tuned. Like I said, quick couple of words in case you missed the beginning of the show. Working again on that credit card issue. Soon we'll even be able to take checks, ACH, whatever. That's an application. So that's on them. We'll just see. It's really through authorized.net, which you guys probably know. A lot of people have requested that before. And I don't know why I didn't do it before, but I guess status quo was working. So we didn't. Now we even had clients, big data pool clients that are like, hey, really want to give you a pay by check. So it's probably past due. But yeah, keep sharing it far and wide. If you really hate PayPal, we're working as fast as we can. But if you don't hate PayPal, or you hate them, but you're willing to do it, consider doing it, because I just don't know when the timing is. With that, share it far and wide. You know the drill. I'll give you guys an update on it. What else?
You cannot forget to get your merch.
Don't forget your merch. And it's in the description and every single thing. Laura will share it on Locals again, I'm sure. But Locals, it's in the description thing in Rumble. So you're watching on Rumble if you're a Locals member, supporter. All right. You can check it out. There it is. Represent.com/People's Pundit. No hyphen. That was the first campaign, the one we actually ended to bring different versions. represent.com/people's pundit with no hyphen. I'm hoping mine comes today, actually. Right?
Supposed to.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be cool. If it does, I'll give a real quick live stream for locals to show you guys what it looks like. I'll sport it and show it to you. All right. Anything else I'm missing? I don't think so.
Nope.
Nope.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Don't miss me tomorrow on Dawn. Yeah, if you like the show, hit the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, but don't forget to hit the notification bell after you subscribe. That'll let you know when we're going to go live on Rumble. You don't have to worry about that. All you got to do is give it that plus and subscribe, and that's all. It takes it from there, but still let you know when we're going to go live. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what are you talking? Oh, of course. peoplespundit.locals.com. Best place. But I didn't know like I'm looking at different screens. peoplespundit.locals.com. Best place to follow us, of course. Have some hopeful iterations coming out again today. I put the latest from California up, but as soon as we get shape files from some of these different states and commissions, I'm going to start, and this is only for supporters on locals, I'm going to start putting up voter analysis models of the new district maps that come out. All right. And that will be cool. And maybe we will be able to have some time to talk about them on as they come on live streams. That's probably going to be the topic of them. All right, but remember what I said about the Christmas and the holidays, all right? And I hope you all have a great weekend. See you soon on Locals. See the rest of you real soon on Don Smith Show. And
You did that. Never mind.
yeah, I did it. All right, and with that, all the best, folks. Be safe. Have a great holly jolly, soon to be, right before Christmas weekend. All the best, folks. All the best.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Get on a plane and take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker.